Let's start with the main event because there's so much talk about it and so much talk about this fight actually being booked. I want to get your thoughts first and foremost because there's a lot of different opinions on who Jon Jones should have made his first title defense against. So, where do you stand on the rebooking of the Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic fight after UFC 295?
I do get it. I do get why the UFC have stuck with Stipe Miocic. We do have some recency bias in this
Mm.
sport, which is fine, by the way. But I was there when Stipe won his title in Brazil. I got to share a couple of moments with him and the team, and he's still around. He's still the guy at heavyweight. He's the record holder. So if he wants to do it, and Jon wants to do it, and I'm trying to see this from Jon's perspective as well, then get it done. But going forward, I'd like to see some different things. But yeah, let's play this one out. I know that the fans wanted to see it be a unification match with Tom, but let's play this one out. We're here now, and I think it's going to be a really interesting fight. And people forget about Stipe,
Mm.
and we didn't really see a great deal of Jon at heavyweight, did we, against Cyril? Just not a great night for Cyril at all. Great night for Jon, but yeah, let's see what he looks like against another legit big dude.
I think one of the reasons why this has been booked is obviously the grandiose of both men's records, and kind of a point that I haven't heard many people speak about, and I'm interested to get your opinion of is where do you feel like this fight ranks in terms of the biggest fights of either man's career?
Hmm. God, I mean, Jon's career is so deep, right?
Mm.
So deep. We're reminded in times like this when we go back through his resume, just who he's faced, who he's beaten,
Mm.
and then you start considering why he maybe made that move to heavyweight after his body of work. Guys like Daniel Cormier, just absolute legends. Alexander Gustafsson. I mean, I'm not going to reel them off.
Yeah.
Stipe has been out a long time, make no bones about it. But he did beat everyone, but well, largely. But he's got such a great body of work at heavyweight as well. He was never going to make 205. And I think he's just one of those quiet guys that doesn't stamp his feet, bang the drum too loud. He's been busy fighting fires and taking care of his family, not too bothered apparently
Mm.
about what we're all saying. So he sort of just makes this cameo, and what happens now. So I think we need to give him the respect. I think that's what the UFC are doing as well. And they're giving him this huge opportunity against the greatest of all time. There are a lot of greatest of themes to this fight. So I like it, and I'm interested in seeing it for sure. But after this, we need a definitive direction for the division.
UFC 309 is finally here. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the UFC heavyweight title. And we've partnered with our friends at DraftKings to bring you an incredible new offer. New customers who bet $5 will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly using our promo code Inside Fighting. Do you buy into the theory at all? Because I've seen this theory online that although we have such a massive amount of tape on Jon's light heavyweight career, we don't actually know what Jon Jones looks like as a heavyweight, given the sample size is just over 2 minutes against Cyril Gane.
A little bit, yeah. I do think that Jon has got a lot of physical attributes that allow him to be good on paper as both a light heavyweight and a heavyweight. That sounds like almost like a ridiculous thing to say, but I'm just
Mm,
taking out his technical ability,
mm,
just his size and his,
yeah.
his length. But there's a vast difference between 205 and 265. I'm not saying that Stipe is going to come in at 265, by the way, but he's a very well balanced heavyweight, Stipe Miocic. He's just a big man, big skull, big thick body,
Mm.
big hands, um, moves in a certain way. Just everything's really well positioned for that weight class, which was, I think, one of the reasons why he was so successful and why he's so dangerous. But Jon Jones, not only does he have all of these great physical attributes, he's also got this. I say it a lot now, but I'm just going to go back to the phrase I usually use. It's just got a voodoo about him, right?
Mm.
He's a bad, bad dude, a really bad man. The
Mm.
greatest guy we've ever seen in there. And with that it's not so much a mystique, but you've got to get past that. Anyone who steps in there with Jon Jones, I think Anthony Smith spoke about this probably more eloquently than some of the other guys, but you're not only just getting in there with a top 205er or heavyweight now,
Mm.
you're in there against Jon Jones. So there's a lot to get over. And Jon's skills everywhere, right? Everywhere. One of the most creative mixed martial artists we've ever seen. So as much as we haven't seen, it would be his ability to take shots is what we haven't seen at heavyweight. We've seen enough of what he can dish out.
Mm.
And we've seen how concussive and how fight ending he can be. So I don't need a lot of convincing.
Yeah, I agree. This feels like really good timing for us to schedule this because I'm sure you will have seen Jon Jones's media day yesterday, where he was, I think, more than half the questions had Tom Aspinall's name in them at some point. Just your reaction to Jon's, excuse me, let's say unwillingness and uninterest in fighting Tom, particularly the line about he won't fight Tom because he's quote unquote an arsehole. Thought that was quite an interesting one.
And the timeliness of this submission, Radio put out a really nice piece of content where 9 months ago, I think it was alluding to when Jon was over here in the UK, and there was this groundswell of enthusiasm for them to fight. And he said, yeah, I'm interested in that fight. I'm interested in that fight. Fast forward 9 months. Tom's an arsehole. I kind of don't like what the fans have been doing here, and he's been disrespectful. So I'm not going to give him that rub. Really interesting, a really interesting turn. Like he's just, you see the way he walks around fight week on embedded. Like there's just something like this guy's a bad dude, and he knows it, and he's alphaing the shit out of everyone right now, and he can because he's Jon Jones.
Yeah.
And I sit there and listen to some of the things that he's saying, and I'm trying to put on the Jon Jones team cap. And he's got a point.
Yeah.
Who is the biggest star in the UFC right now? It's Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
He is the fighter of 2024. Sure, Ilia Topuria is in the conversation, but he's not in the running to fight Jon Jones. Alex Pereira could very well be in the running to fight that. I love Tom Aspinall. I think he is right now the most skilled heavyweight that we've got. I think he's the future of the division and potentially the UFC. I honestly think he's an outstanding human being and fighter. But when you compare the two, I'm putting the Team Jones cap on. He's made some interesting points here. He really has. I don't agree with he does nothing for him. I don't agree with a lot of what he said, but I do agree with the Tom Aspinall, Alex Pereira options on the table. And I think like internationally, I have a UK bias. So if I try and think internationally, who pushes the needle a bit more? Probably the Pereira fight.
I agree.
I'm just trying to state potential facts. But I'm also someone that I really, really like people like being a bit more clear about the divisions. I just do. And back in the day when Jon was coming up, there was none of this kind of two-weight champion stuff, was there?
No.
It just wasn't really there for him. So now now this is all around and everyone wants to be multiple like weight champions. And obviously Powhatan could become the first to get 3, which is just insane. And then Jon was making the case about their weights not being too far apart necessarily, which is wild because he obviously had so much success at middleweight. So yeah, it's crazy. We'll see how it plays out. Jon Jones holds a few cards, but Hunter and Dana hold the actual cards.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that Tom has been a good guy to the UFC as well. I think he's liked. Can't not like him. I don't know what Jon's talking about with him being an arsehole about this. Maybe there's some playfulness around these. Maybe there's some playfulness around this stuff from Tom. But then if you think that, sorry, I'm rambling now. If you think that Jon's was upset about the bitch comment, and then Tom Aspinall lands in New York with a bloody jumper, referencing ducking, then yeah, he's probably going to get a little bit irked by the situation.